As the Technology Director and Computer Teacher at ICCS, I wanted to present the argument of why ICCS's middle school should become a one-to-one laptop school. When researching one-to-one in different schools, you come across many studies that show so many benefits. In one study in particular, they researched implementing one-to-one over a 15-year time span. The benefits they found were test scores were proven to increase, student writing dramatically improved, communication all around from teacher to teacher, teacher to student, student to teacher, teacher to teacher, all of it just improved, and collaboration also either appeared or increased or improved. PBL started showing up in more and more schools, or project-based learning. Students started taking ownership of their own learning, and their students' problem-solving skills also improved. With all of those benefits in mind, I wanted to give you some background information about ICCS. ICCS, or Immaculate Conception Catholic School, is a private school in Lake Charles, Louisiana, in the southwest corner. We are part of the Lake Charles Diocese. We are one in 6 private Catholic schools under the diocese. 5 of those 6 are elementary or elementary and middle schools. There's only 1 high school. The student population at ICCS varies or ranges from pre-kindergarten all the way to 8th grade. Although this one-to-one initiative would only focus on the 6th, 7th, and 8th graders, or the middle school at ICCS. However, it would end up benefiting all of the grades and all of the teachers. Right now, the available technology at ICCS is one Apple Computer Lab. However, this also serves as the computer teacher, or myself's classroom. So I have classes every day, and it varies from day to day of when this lab would actually be available to teachers and students who I'm not teaching at the moment. The other technology available to students is we have 2 iPad mobile carts. One is on the first floor, which is where the kindergarten, pre-kindergarten, and first graders are. The second iPad cart is on the second floor with the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders. In addition to the iPad carts, we have 2 laptop mobile carts. One is also on the 2nd floor with the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders, and the other one is on the 3rd floor with the middle school, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. The technology that we have available actually causes a lot of issues. One, teachers are constantly trying to check out these cards, but we have 40 teachers and 400 students, and not nearly enough devices to help every classroom. So teachers are constantly trying to check them out and get on the calendar to have one of these carts. They're constantly fighting and arguing. Some teachers have just checked out a cart at different times every day for the rest of the year to make sure that they can have access to devices. And because of this, our administration expects teachers to meet the ISTE standards in all classes, in all grades. However, teachers have a hard time doing this when the students have no access to the devices in their own classrooms. Students also have pretty limited exposure. Of course, the teachers have their own laptops, and there are smart boards in every room, so we are fortunate that way. However, that does not mean the students are actually using that technology. They're mostly watching a teacher use the technology. From pre-K to 5th grade, students have a computer enrichment class for 40 minutes, 1 time a week, and that's it. When they enter 6th grade, they get the first or second quarter, which is 9 weeks long, where they have a computer enrichment for 30 minutes from Monday through Friday. So a little bit more intense, yet still pretty short. They also come back to the computer lab as 8th graders their very last quarter. So this has caused issues with our middle schoolers or our eighth graders when they are about to leave to go to high school and become freshmen. They are not prepared for the technology at our Catholic high school. And the number one thing we hear over and over from multiple high schools is that our students cannot type. They have very low keyboarding skills. And although they start practicing as first graders, it's really hard to improve these skills when they only practice one time a week. So as I mentioned before, we have one Catholic high school. 96% of our eighth graders go to this school. St. Louis is a school that is one-to-one. Every student from freshman to a senior gets a laptop. They also have an online classroom platform of Moodle. In addition to Moodle, they use Google Classroom, some teachers, and some other teachers use flipped classrooms. So they go from having pretty limited exposure and use to being completely overwhelmed. And this is really hard as freshmen. Freshman year is stressful enough. But to add on all of this technology that they have to know really, really is hurting our students in their very first semester in high school. So this is the St. Louis Technology Initiative. In 2013, they implemented their phase 3 of the one-to-one laptop initiative, where all students finally had a laptop. It has been pretty successful. This is now 4 years later, and the teachers are loving it, the students are loving it. And since we are a feeder school into St. Louis, it would be great to really start implementing this one-to-one mindset before they get to high school. So how do we get people to buy into this idea? Well, first we got to start with the parents. Because when you take a parent of a 6th grader, 11 or 12-year-old, it might be a little scary for them if you say, I'm going to give your student a computer, it is their responsibility to take care of it. But we are fortunate at ICCS that our parents are pretty competitive. They want their students to be the best in everything. So I think to present it to them, we would say, this is going to give your students an advantage, especially when they get to high school. But even at a middle school age, when they take the ACT Aspire test, they can score way higher than other students in other schools. Parents would love this from ICCS. Teachers are harder to get to buy into because they're constantly just overloaded with new curriculums and new technologies. But having students have a one-to-one in their classroom, I think would benefit them so much. And one, I think, thing I would say right away is you would never have to reserve the mobile card again and deal with the schedule and the calendar. And it opens their classrooms up so much. They can research new games in classroom, Google Classroom, all of just everything you can do with one-to-one. The fishbowl discussions where students are on the outside typing a discussion while listening to one. It's just, their possibilities are endless. Now for the teachers that aren't middle school, how do we get them to buy in? Well, I would say this is going to give you access to 40 more devices. ICCS is also a project-based learning school. And so we're required to do multiple projects during the year, and technology is always a main component. And to really have those extraordinary, beautiful PBLs, technology has to be a part of it. So if you have more access to devices, teachers are just going to totally be on board with that. Now the admin, in our case the admin is a principal and vice principal and curriculum coordinator. This is going to keep our school competitive. Earlier I mentioned that there are 6 private schools in Lake Charles. Well, 4 of those schools are already one-to-one. They're either one-to-one laptop or one-to-one iPad. And so we are one of 2 that do not have enough devices for our students. And being a private school, you are constantly trying to get more enrollment and more parent buy-in and fundraising, and it's all based on your reputation and how your students perform when they are in high school and even further down the lines. So I think that is one argument that you can show them, present to them, is that we need to be in the running with the other private schools right now. And also, it prepares our students, and they can go to high school without the stress of having to learn all of the new technology. And finally, the diocese. The diocese act as our kind of like a school board central office. And for them, similar to the admin, but on a bigger spectrum. This gives the diocese another 21st century school. So they can maybe draw more students into this diocese. We are really close to other private schools in different cities. The cities are very, very close together. So students could easily drive from one town to another, and most likely some of their parents work in Lake Charles, but maybe they live in Sulphur. So if we can get some of those students to come in and be a part of our Lake Charles diocese, that would be so beneficial. Oh, funds. How do we pay for this? The one thing, like I said, we are a project-based learning school, so we always try to get our students involved with things, with big things. How do you change? How do you make these big ideas happen? So I would say we'd get our students involved, and they can come up with ideas for fundraisers and how do we raise money. When the students are involved and they're going to come up with great ideas, they always do. But then that's also going to help buy in their parents, and their parents will get involved as well. So fundraisers will be one way because we are a private school and we do not get state funding. Another thing, our students do have tuition. So we can always raise tuition a little bit, but not too much because we don't want to end up driving the students away. And finally, we get a small amount of title funds, so that we can also pull from those to help pay for this. And finally, our technology improvement plan has a budget to replace and improve our technology every year. And so with a 3-year plan, we can get a huge chunk of money from our budget already. And finally, we have an auction night where parents raise, they have to raise $125,000. They usually exceed that. So we can pull some of those funds as well. Now the timeline. This will be a 3-year implementation. Year 1, we're going to start with the 8th grade and start with the teachers. Get the teachers some professional development, make them feel comfortable. Then maybe in the 2nd semester, give the 8th graders the computers. Year 2, keep training the teachers while adding the 7th graders to it. And at this point, the 8th graders were the 7th graders last year, so they kind of saw the 8th graders use it. And year 3, finally get all 3 grades involved, keep checking in with the teachers, giving them as much support as they need during those first 3 years to really be successful. And what we want students to be prepared for high school. We want teachers to be able to implement the technology at any time they need. We want the newest technologies in our school. We want our project-based learning to be more creative and more unique. And we just want our students to be the best there is in Lake Charles. And I think being a one-to-one to school is just one way to make our students exceed above and beyond. And at the beginning of this presentation, I said all of the benefits for the students. They would get that. They would get those increased skills. And so that is why we should be a one-to-one school. Our students will be the best, and they already are, and this will just fine-tune them.